Hello and welcome back. Today I bring a new series to the channel. In this series I will be uniting countries to make them stronger. Of course, I will be uniting countries with similarities, and not just random countries. To begin with today, we will start with the Benelux. I thought the Benelux was an easy and good way to start this series, so let's get on with it. The Benelux is a possible union between three countries: the Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. I also find the name for this nation perfect, as it represents the three nations inside it. The proposed flag is the one you're seeing on the screen, which curiously gives more representation to the Netherlands. The Benelux wouldn't be a very big country, and it'd be located at the northern center of Europe, between France and Germany. We'll start with the Benelux's size. The Benelux wouldn't be a very big country, in terms of size. This new nation would count with 76,657 square kilometers, which is relatively small for a nation. This would put the Benelux in the 116th position globally, ahead of Panama, but behind the Czech Republic. The Benelux would still, however, be bigger than Ireland, Croatia, and Latvia. The Benelux might not be very big, but it would have a huge population, especially for its size. The Benelux would count with over 29,175,000 people inside its borders. This would put the new formed nation into the 50th worldwide spot, ahead of Mozambique, but still remaining behind Yemen. The Benelux would also have a bigger population than Portugal, Romania and even Australia. The Benelux would have the 10th largest population in Europe. The Benelux would have a gigantic economy. The Benelux would have a total GDP of over $1.3 trillion, or $1,381,300,000,000. This would put the European country into the 15th position worldwide. This would mean that a united Benelux would have a larger economy than Mexico, Switzerland, and Argentina. In an European scale, the Benelux would have the 7th largest economy, just behind Spain and Russia. The Benelux's GDP would only be on the rise, and it'd only get bigger if they remain united. The Benelux's GDP per capita would also be extremely high. The new country would count with over $48,000 per capita, putting them into the 15th worldwide position again. This would mean that an united Benelux would have a higher GDP per capita than Canada and France. The Benelux would also have the 10th largest GDP per capita in Europe. Luxembourg would be the wealthiest part inside the nation, as Luxembourg already has the largest GDP per capita in the world. The Benelux would have one of the lowest crime rates in the world, at just 1.07. In this case, being in the lower positions and better, meaning that the lower your position is, the more secure you are. The Benelux would still remain more dangerous than Denmark, Spain, and Croatia, but they'd still be a very safe and secure country, with barely any murders or robbery. The suicide rate of this nation would be significantly higher than the crime rate, as the Benelux would have a suicide rate of 11.9. The Benelux would be placed into 50th worldwide position. This means that more people would end their own lives inside the Benelux than in Sweden, Austria, and New Zealand. Now it's time to pick a capital for the Benelux. Inside the Benelux are many important and big cities, and these are the biggest. The biggest city would be Brussels, inside Belgium. Brussels has over 1.2 million people, and it'd be the only city with over 1 million people. The second biggest would be the Dutch city, Amsterdam, with over 800,000 people inside it. Rotterdam would follow with 600,000, and The Hague with over 540,000. The second biggest Belgian city would be Antwerp, with over 500,000 people, and Utrecht and Ghent would finish the list. I would personally pick Brussels as the capital for the Benelux, as it's already the capital of Belgium and the European Union. It's also important to mention that Luxembourg's biggest city wouldn't even be able to reach this list. Now we move on to religion. 59% of the Benelux's population would follow any type of Christianity. A surprisingly be 32%, or almost 1/3 of the population, would be made up of atheists and non-religious people. Another 4% would follow Islam, and a small 1% would follow Buddhism. The remaining 4% would follow a variety of other religions. This would make the Benelux one of the most irreligious countries in Europe. In terms of language, Dutch and Flemish would be the most spoken language, as both languages are very similar. Over 85% of the Benelux, or 23.4 million people, would speak either of those as their first language. French and Walloon would follow, with 15% of the population speaking as a first language combined. German and Luxembourgish would be spoken as a first language by less than 1% of the total population. Ethnicity. If the Benelux became a country, 50% of its population, or exactly half, would be ethnically Dutch, or from the Netherlands. Another quarter, or exactly 25% would be Flemish, or from Flanders. A big 13% would be ethnically Walloon, or from Wallonia. And another 4% would be from other European countries. The remaining 8% would ethnically be from outside Europe, and from places such as South and Central America, Asia, and Africa. This country would be ethnically very diverse. Now on to the military. The military personnel of the Benelux wouldn't be very high. The Benelux would have an active personnel of 65,110, a reserves of 9,660, and a paramilitary of 6,500. This means that the Benelux would have a total military of 81,270, which is quite low, especially for a country in Europe. In case of a war, the Benelux wouldn't have enough men. To end with this video, we'll talk about the Benelux's military budget. The military budget of the Benelux would have a really high budget, especially for such a small personnel. The Benelux would count with over $14.8 billion for its military. As a whole, the military of the Benelux would be weak, and one of the worst in Europe. Yes, the Benelux would have a strong navy, and a high budget, but unless the Benelux have allies in the war, I don't see them as a very strong nation. Maybe if the Benelux united, the military personnel would increase, and for that matter increase the rankings of its military. The Benelux would have a lot of weapons and war vehicles though, which does help. Finally, we've finished with the video. Of course, there were many more things I could have included, but I think what I've shown you is enough for you to know how the Benelux would work and look like as a country. In all honesty, I would love to see this unification, and it would definitely benefit everyone inside the nation, economically and culturally. The small nation would probably become even wealthier than it is. For now, the Netherlands, Belgium and Luxembourg are separate countries, but maybe one day, that would change. If you want to add anything else about the Benelux, if it united, or edit something I said, then feel free to comment it, and for that matter, give me your opinion on the Benelux, and if you would want it to become a united nation, or prefer to keep these nations independent. I will upload another episode in not too long, and if you want me to include your country in a video like this, then comment it too. I already have a lot of ideas for other episodes in this series, so hopefully you enjoyed this episode. This has been it, and I'll see you all in another video. Peace.